Lavender Farm Family Kitchen. I'm Pam, and Molly and I are going to be cooking up some chocolate treats for you today. A lovely lavender chocolate mousse.
Alright, so yes, we're inspired by some Valentine's Day treats. So we're going to be doing some chocolate desserts. The first we're going to show you how to make is what I call a Cheats chocolate mousse, or it's an easier version of a chocolate mousse. So there's no raw eggs involved, so it's also safe for everyone, and you can even make this with your kids. It's super easy to do, and it takes just a couple of minutes to put together. So first we're going to start out with 1.25 cups of heavy cream, and you want it to be nice and cold, so we're going to whip the cream, and you can even have a nice cold bowl as well. Metal, copper, glass do the trick just fine. Next, we're going to add some confectioner's sugar or powdered sugar. I'm going to do about 2 tablespoons. We're going to use a combination of semi-sweet and dark chocolate. If you wanted to go all dark chocolate, depending on your sweet preference, I'd say you could bump it up to 3 tablespoons of powdered sugar if you like. Next, we're going to add in a vanilla extract that you might use, but lavender, and it's a great way to get that lavender essence into your baked goods. And so we're going to do about 2 teaspoons of that. All right. And then you're just going to make whipped cream. So get out your hand mixer and whisk it together until it's nice and thick. You don't want to overbeat it, but you want nice soft peaks. So I'll show you the finished texture when we're done. Alright, so we're just about there. You've essentially made whipped cream, so this is the kind of consistency that you want. And now we're going to turn our attention to the chocolate part. So we have a glass bowl, and essentially we're going to make a double boiler to melt the chocolate. So on the stove, we have a saucepan with boiling water. This glass bowl will sit right in the top of it. The boiling water does not touch the bottom. There's still about 1 inch of space in between, but that heat rising up from that boiling water is going to evenly and gently melt the chocolate so it doesn't break. So I'm going to add in 1 cup of chocolate chips. This is a mix of semi-sweet and dark chocolate. You can go with your preference if you want to do all dark chocolate or if you want to do all semi-sweet, whatever you have on hand, that's totally fine. And then we're going to take a spatula and place our pot over the double boiler, and you're just going to kind of stir and agitate a little. And you can probably pause.
So Molly, why do you prefer a glass bowl?
Well,
personal preference?
Yeah, you can't use plastic, obviously, because it's boiling water. And then metal, I mean, you can use the metal one. I just think that the glass conducts the heat better and a little bit more evenly. I feel like the metal can almost get too hot and kind of get hot spots from melting the chocolate. And I think the glass just does it evenly. It's also one of those things I've always done, so I feel like that was what I've learned. It just works better, but I think you can use a metal one, but glass it's thicker. I think it just holds the heat more evenly.
And we got to make sure we use a Pyrex glass bowl, something that's heat safe, right?
Yes, yes. The chocolate get glossy. And as it does start to melt, it is good to keep stirring it because some of that heat you're going to distribute to the chunks that still need to melt, and it doesn't need to spend as long on the heat source. If you keep stirring it, it'll melt faster. And it'll start to get nice and glossy. Completely smooth just at that point. That's when I will turn off the stove and take it off. This bowl is also going to be stirred a little bit more, and as you can see, the more I continue to stir, it's going to get a little bit shinier. All right, so that looks pretty perfect. And then we're going to So now we're just going to add a little bit of the chocolate at first into our cream, like just kind of one spatula full, because this cream is really cold and the chocolate's really hot. So this is more of a technique almost than actual like cooking. But if you were to dump all of the chocolate in at once, it might kind of shock. So you're just sort of tempering the two temperatures together. So we'll just kind of fold and stir that in. And then we'll add a little bit more of the chocolate. So you can do half of what's left. And this bowl will be really hot, so I suggest wearing an oven mitt while you're doing that. I just have no feeling in my fingers anymore, so I can pick it up, but it will be very hot after being on the burner.
We call those mom hands.
Yeah.
But be safe at home.
Yes, so
And
we're
use
in
the
oven
oven
mitt,
mitt.
and it's gonna be hot. Alright, we'll add the rest in. So it's also, I love about this cheats chocolate mousse, as I call it as well, is that I won't even use this as like a cupcake or a cake frosting. So I like really light and airy type of frostings, and it's so quick and easy to put together. So you can also kind of keep this as a dual recipe in your back pocket. And then you just keep kind of folding and mixing. And you can see how the cream and the chocolate are still streaky. So you just want to keep folding and incorporating it all together until it becomes an even chocolate color. But you've got a lot of nice body in there. As you can see when I'm talking about folding, I kind of bring my spatula down and then turn it in my hand over top. Can you see that sort of technique? So by doing that folding, you're still keeping a lot of air into the mousse and into the whipped cream, rather than if you were like stirring like this, you'd kind of beat down some of that volume that you made by whipping that cream. Stirs. Now this will firm up in the fridge as well. So I think it's so easy to make. If I'm going to serve it right away for a dinner or something like that, I'll just make it right then and serve it then. If you were to make it in advance, just take it out of the refrigerator maybe about an hour before you wanted to eat it, and then that way it'll loosen up again as it had set colder in the refrigerator. All right, so now if you can see, that looks pretty good. Nice and light and airy. And so we have some beautiful little scoops here that we can serve this in. Grab a spoon and just sort of ladle it in. And if you wanted to do, we're gonna garnish it with some lavender buds. If you wanted to do a little whipped cream on top, you could even just like reserve a couple tablespoons before you mix in the chocolate, and that would be fine. All right. There we go. Set this aside. And then here we have our super blue lavender buds, the culinary lavender. It's got that beautiful, gorgeous purple color. And we can just sprinkle a little bit on top as a garnish. And then you've got a super easy dessert for two. And in total, I'd say this recipe makes about 4 servings.